Henderson City Council to order at 6 p.m. on this 18th day of March 2025. I declare a quorum is present and declare the notices legally posted pursuant to the Open Meeting Act. We will please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, be with us tonight. Lord, thank you for this beautiful day. Lord, we just ask you to be with us and help us make the right decisions for the city of Henderson and for the citizens in it. Lord, we just ask these things in your Son's precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Face the flags. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On our Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Next, citizens' comments. Cheryl, are there any citizens' comments requests?
No, it was not submitted.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to presentations and announcements. Does the council or staff have any announcements they would like to make at this time? No? Okay, we have a presentation, our annual audit presentation by Golub, Morgan, and Petty PC.
Don't worry, people have been getting that wrong for years.
Sorry. Just a little nervous.
I promise you, he won't roll over in his grave knowing he gets his name. Anyway, thank you very much, Gene. I appreciate it. Thank you, Council. Good to see y'all tonight. Thank you for letting me be here. I promise you I won't go into a lot of detail tonight to bore you with all this, but we did meet with Jay and the Mayor and with Karen last week to go over this in detail. But I do want to go over a few things with you. Fiscal year 24 was a different year, was an outlier, and I'll discuss that a little more here in a minute. But first, you do have a 2-page letter that we went over last week with them. I just want to cover it real quick with you. This is our letter to you as a city council because you're the governance body of the city of Henderson. There's some general information in here basically describing our responsibilities related to your audit. It also gets into significant accounting policies and estimates. It talks about your significant financial statement disclosures, which primarily relate to your pension and your OPEB plan. It talks about the misstatements, corrected misstatements. Basically, we always have journal entries that we come about with audit. Those have been given to Karen. In the last page, it talks about any disagreements we may have had with your management team, which there were none. And so basically, nothing out of the norm. I did want to present this to you tonight, mainly because, again, you are the governing body for the city that's charged with your audit. Getting to the audit, first and foremost, I want to say thanks to Karen and everything. Amanda Wells, who's a supervisor that oversees everything, is with me tonight as well. You got a great staff here. I know you're aware of that, and we appreciate them a whole lot in doing everything. In the report, first and foremost, the opinion is considered to be an unmodified or clean audit opinion. That's the highest opinion we can render for the city's financials. I do want to address your attention to page 7. I believe you've all got hard copies, so I'll just kind of touch on a few things real quick with you. Page 7 gives your change in net position for the year between your governmental activities and your business type activities. Your business type activities primarily consist of your water sewer operations. Your governmental activities, for the most part, is your general fund, which is your primary operating fund, and then several other funds that you have, such as your street and drainage, a lot of your special revenue funds as well. One of the things you see there, a couple of things you see, if you look at, there's a few things that look different. If you look at your total revenues under your governmental activities, they increased from $17.2 billion to $18.7. The big thing is you see there in the prior year, where you see that loss on sale of assets, that's where we donated the old buildings and all back over to HICO. So when we had to record that transaction and remove those assets from the city's books, that's how that's reflected there. That was a one-time thing that you did not have in '24. If you look at the differences outside of that, you'll see your charges for services increased some. Of course, your property taxes increased. Sales tax was down a little bit, but again, fairly flat when compared to the prior year. Operating grants were down some, primarily because if you remember the prior year, that's when you spent a lot of your ARPA money. A lot of that money goes into the building the facilities we're in tonight. So that was something we expected to see. Your expenses went up from the previous year, 16.9 to 18.8 million. Most of that's related to public services, some increases in public safety. So overall, in the prior year, we had an increase in net position of 328,000. This year, we had a drop of 254. So there's about a $500,000 swing there. On the business top side, our charges for services were up some, which again we expected because some of the rate increases you put into effect. Other income was down some from 267,000 to 14. Our operating costs were from a little over 6 million to 6.195 million. Not a huge increase there, but a little bit of an increase. So when you take that into account with the transfers, we had a previous year increase in net position of 183,000, and this year we had a small loss of 42,000. Okay, any questions on any of that? All right, flip over to page 19, Exhibit 6. Looking at your budget actual report for your general fund. And this is where you're going to see a little bit of what I call the outlier year, because really, if you go down to the bottom, our fund balance dropped 1.19 million. And the biggest reason that happened is because we had a lot of additional cost in getting into this building. Okay, now, there's a good and a bad to that. One, it cost us money. Okay, we had investments that we were able to get into in order to utilize those funds. The number one thing I want you to understand from everything that happened this last year, was we didn't have to borrow any money to do that. Okay, so we were able to use funds that we had set aside in order to take care of that. It is a one-time thing. With all the things and cost involved in getting into this building and getting everything up and going, it's a one-time thing, and that's not cost you're going to see incur going forward. You've got a beautiful building here, a great place to be proud of, and a place you're going to be able to be proud of for years to come. But if you look at some of the changes there, you'll see we budgeted total revenues of 18.4 million. Our actual revenues were just a little over 18 million, so we had an unfavorable variance there, about $460,000. Again, a little bit of, most of that's in our tax revenues. We were a little bit below our budget on our property tax and a little below budget on sales tax revenues. If you look at your expenditures, we budgeted 16.3. Our actual were 17.5. So again, that's where we really see the big change there. Most of that is in the administration side, which is where a lot of those costs were in getting into the building. We had to replace a roof. So we did get some insurance money to help cover that, but again, it never covers it in full. So again, with a lot of things there that we just had again, one-time things that we're not going to incur in the current fiscal year you're in. So when you take all that into account, we did have a drop in our fund balance of 1.1 million. But again, that's the great thing to know, is we had funds available to absorb that. We didn't have to borrow the money. And like I said, I think we'll really see things shift the other way this year in fiscal year 25. So that's all I want to cover with you tonight. Any questions, anything you want to bring up?
Looks like we're good.
All right. Thank y'all very much for letting me
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Okay, next we'll go on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains routine or non-controversial items. Are there any items that council would like to move into regular session? If not, can I get a motion upon the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion. Second.
All in favor? Okay, we're good there? Everything okay? There has been a motion and a second. All in favor, state aye. Opposed, state no. No. Okay, we're good. So now we are going into council business, regular session. We will now go into the regular session of the City Council's business meeting. So first item is item number 8. I read it right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Consideration and possible action upon a Frisbee steady possible infrastructure to get water to Henderson from Lake Striker with Stokes and Associates.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem Council, you know, this is something that we've been talking about for a few years now. And we're to a point where we're ready to start moving forward with it. So we've met with Neil and asked him to go ahead and start on a feasibility study, which will show us the right way or where we would need the infrastructure put in. So it's kind of where we're headed. That's where we're at. And Neil is here. If we have any questions or want him to kind of go a little bit more in depth on the feasibility study, if y'all need.
So why don't I just give you just a little bit of background. So currently the city takes water from the Sabine River. You have a shared joint pipeline and pump station with the city of Kilgore. At the Sabine River, water is pumped to the city of Kilgore's wastewater water treatment plant on the north side of the town, or on the north side of Kilgore. And then the city picks up that raw water, and we also have our own pump station, and we carry water to our surface water treatment plant that's located on State Highway 322, north of Henderson. That plant is about 27 years old. And the pipelines are much older than that, including the pump station. Currently, they're having a number of pipeline problems in the Sabine River. The Sabine River, due to flooding and erosion of the banks, they've already lost that pipeline a couple of different times. It's had to be relayed and adjusted. And as recently as last fall, there was a local contractor that was working on that pipeline to restore it, to salvage it, to keep it from falling off in the river again. So it's still a very functioning and operational system, and we deliver around 4.5 million gallons of water per day to the city of Henderson, or we at least have the ability to pull that much. You also have water wells in the city, and we can produce as much and even more water, treated water, with our water wells than we can with a surface water treatment plant. So again, you're fixed with the water system that we pull from the Sabine River. A few years back, water rights became available in Lake Striker. It's a reservoir just south of here. Everyone should be pretty familiar with that reservoir. But when those water rights became available, the city, rightfully so, took an interest in seeing about the ability to try to purchase those water rights. And this went on for several years. And what ended up happening a few years back, the city was able to secure approximately 7.4 million gallons of water a day that's sitting in Lake Striker. And so now the city is looking at taking advantage of those water rights. You pay an annual fee just to reserve that water. What the city staff would like to do is now bring that water to the city and to put it into our existing infrastructure, or build additional infrastructure to be able to support the water needs for the city's short-term and long-term water needs for the next 50 to 75 years. So what we'll be looking at is the most optimal route to be able to convey that water along the highway right-of-ways to get that water to the city, and potentially to the north side of town where our existing water plant is. But we're also going to look at the possibility of maybe building a new surface water treatment plant on the south side of town. The economics of that, and building additional pipeline to get it another 8 to 10 miles north of town, will go a long ways, or even be less expensive by building a second water plant on the south side of town. There's two advantages to that. Right now, we produce water, again, from wells that comes from our well field.
goes to a common tank, and then goes to distribution. But when we're sending surface water from our treatment plant, it has to come from the north, and it's then pushed through the city from north to south. So by having a second plant on the south side of town, we're able to provide better flows and better pressure within the entire city by having water coming from two different directions. So that's just a little bit of a background. I didn't want to get in too deep. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have. But our work order today before you, if you choose to approve this, is prepare a feasibility report so that the city can then plan for future funding opportunities of how to pay for that infrastructure to build the pipeline, conveyance systems, tanks, pumps, and even possibly a new surface water treatment plant in doing that. And our work order today is for $75,000 for that study.
We need a, does anybody have any questions?
Neil, I know this will probably be in your report, I realize that, but just spitballing, how long would that take to get water from here to there, or from there to here?
From a construction standpoint, obviously, you know, we would do a study this year. The best opportunity to get funding of something of that scale would probably be through the Texas Water Development Board. It's going to take another year before you can file an application should you choose to move forward with a construction project, engineering and construction. It would take, it's going to take a year and a half before you would ever know if you get funded for that project. So you're looking at 27, maybe 28, before you would, you know, be able to have funds in hand to be able to start that project. A project of that size would probably take 2 to 2.5 years to build. So it's in the near future.
Yeah.
We think that's a long time, 5 to 7 years, but you turn around and it's
Maybe here before you know it.
That's why we need to get this process started.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's a priority because we don't know what the legislature's going to do every 2 years. You know, this year they're focusing on spending and taxation and all these other things, but water rights is going to become a major issue.
Water rights are
today.
and
Cities are going to push it.
And the legislature are having a focus on water projects right now. That's a big push for the state.
Yeah.
So it's very important that the state and all the communities in the state trying to develop funding opportunities and find sources of water. They're not making any more water. When's the last time a reservoir of any size was built around here? You know, we've talked about the Lake Columbia project. That's been 25 years since that was talked about. So it was a great opportunity for the city. We think the city made a great move in acting quickly and reserving those rights. And so now, with your decision, if you want to move forward, we can put those wheels into motion to start the feasibility study, see what it's going to cost, and then we'll determine, you know, the best source of funding to build that project.
Any other questions? No. I need a motion.
So moved for approval.
Second.
Okay. And second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. That's passed. Thank you. The next one's just the first reading, right?
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, he told me first reading.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So then they're all, everything's good. Okay. Item number 9, consideration and possible action upon a shooting range work order with Stokes and Associates to provide services.
Good
David?
evening, Council.
Good evening.
Cheryl.
Good evening.
So this next item is for, yes, another feasibility study specifically for a shooting range we would like to build, there it is, out at the water plant.
You just answered my question. Thank you. Rock on.
So this basically is for an agreement with Stokes for the engineering and the design of what you see up there on the screen. Total price is $68,000. We do have that budgeted for this year.
And we'd like to get this started. We're going to try to build it in phases as the budget allows, and since we're fixing to start the new budget year, we're looking really hard. I have an idea of what we can do, but I need a design from Neil and a new pricing for these different phases, and we have to figure all that out so that I can figure out how to budget for it.
So really what we're going to be moving forward with, if you choose to approve this work order, it will be the actual outdoor range itself. It would not include the building, a shooting building, but we are going to provide as a part of this work order, in addition to the outdoor range, which would have the covered canopy there to allow for shooting, depending on inclement weather or whatever. It'll also have lights, be able to do shooting at night. All of this is in conformance with the NRA's guidelines for shooting ranges, and also to help staff with their local and tactical training and requirements they have to fulfill as a part of their profession. So we are talking about specifically just doing the outdoor range as a part of this, but we'll also provide for you a feasibility report that would be a schematic design of what the building would look like based off of staff's recommendations. We are looking at a building that's approximately 14,000 square feet. It would house about 50 persons for a training and operations office inside the building. It would have indoor shooting ranges so that they could do indoor shooting, and then also your various restrooms, a small break room, and then we need storage because there's quite a bit of things that they need as far as their target storage and other needs that they have for the range itself. So that would all come as a part of a feasibility report as far as the size and scale of where parking lots would be and the building itself.
Council have any questions, comments?
Yeah, will the civilians have access?
That's
No, where can I go?
Can I go practice?
not at this time, but we can open that for discussion. Yes, once we get it built, there's lots of different options here that we need to discuss.
And I know Jay has a vision for not only just our local law enforcement, but opportunities to bring other agencies in.
Ask that question.
DPS, our prison systems that are located here, they all have to do the same training. So there are some opportunities where maybe some cost sharing and or at least
We're definitely looking at every revenue option.
Yeah, because I can imagine that's going to be pretty expensive on the indoor side of it down the road.
It's very, very specific.
I know what a 14,000 square foot
And what we're looking at is a metal building. It's a shell building. But when you are talking about indoor ranges, there are a lot of specifics, and it's a little bit expensive for that type of construction. But
and that's why we're doing it in phases, and that's why we're holding off on the building. Other than this is the building, this is what it's going to be, this is what it's going to look like, this is what it's going to cost.
we have a lot of land at the water plant, so there's very minimal residents in that area. So from disruption, noise disruption, we think that that's an ideal place to use that property.
And I'm guessing this is going to be built across from where the oil tanks are out there.
That's what we're looking at right now.
That's
We're looking
where
at a
we're
couple of options.
focusing on that right now, but we're also going to look at other locations on the side.
Because that would put it way away from anything. So,
Yes.
And we talked to the oil field companies. They're excited to have a presence out there. So they're excited to see this opportunity.
yeah.
Anything else? No? I need a motion.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay.
Thank you.
Passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hillary, is that microphone on? Is it green?
It's not.
That one's red.
Oh,
Oh, it is on?
that's great.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Now we're going to item number 10, consideration and possible action upon the second reading of ordinance 2025-02-01, amending the zoning map of the city of Henderson, changing the zone from general industrial to high density multiple family district for a property located on North Van Buren across from Lakewood Cemetery. Cheryl?
Yes, and this is the minor plat that we had brought to y'all several months ago. Right across from Lakewood Cemetery, he's divided those two properties, and he left the 5.338 industrial and then the multifamily for the 1.3 acres. And that this is the second reading, so we will need action on this if y'all so approve. Do you have any questions?
And I need a motion.
I'll
and a
make a
second.
motion to approve number 10, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Item number 10.
Item number 10.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we're going to item 11. Consideration upon the first reading of ordinance 2025-03-01, changing the City of Henderson's zoning map from low-density single-family residential R1 zone to general commercial C2 zone on a property known as 2500 South Evenside Street for W.C. George Properties.
Yes, and that's just the corner where the house was at one time. So it has an address and utilities already to it, but we've got someone looking to possibly purchase that, but they wanted to know if council would so approve it to be commercial before they did invest. And this is following our 2050 comprehensive plan.
Any questions?
And it's just the first reading, so if you see something, now's the time for us to correct anything.
I may be talking out of turn, but didn't we approve around it last?
It's the next item.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, good deal.
On the next page.
Okay.
So this is first.
Motion and a vote.
This one's first.
This is just a first
First
reading.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Any questions? Anything? No? So, is that it?
Yeah.
Go on to the next. Okay. The next one, item number 12. Consideration upon the first reading of ordinance 2025-30-02, changing the City of Henderson zoning map from low-density single-family residential R1 zone to general commercial C2 zone. The property is described as PT of LT1 Block 890, 13.357 acres, J. Smith Survey, located the near of the corner of Highway 79 and South Evenside for BIH LLC.
Yes, and this is the property you're talking about that
Right
surrounds
behind
it.
it,
Yeah,
yes.
Right. So the same thing, this is just a first reading. We went through the planning and zoning already. This is the first reading, so if you have any questions, now's the time to make changes if we need to. And this is a non-action item.
Y'all good with it? Okay.
Carry on.
Okay. Next, we go to item 13, consideration upon the first reading of ordinance 202.
Mayor
Yes.
Pro Tem.
Yes. Make sure it's
We do not have this ordinance ready at this time, so we need to make a motion, have somebody make a motion to table this item until next month.
I move we table.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so we're going on to item number 14. Consideration and possible action upon resolution 2025-03-01 for a rate increase for Center Point Energy for 45 days.
Yes,
Yes,
this is going through the commission. Sorry, I can't get it to pull up, so we'll just do it this way. They have got approved for an increase. through the state. So all that we're asking for at this time is to postpone this rate increase for 45 days. And there is, I thought I had it pulled up, the rate study sheet for, maybe right here, the increase on it. Do it this way. There it is there. So this is the increase per, I'm sorry, I'm pointing at it. I should be using this over here. Per bill, per customer, this is what the increase will be. But that, we can't deny it. We can only postpone it for 45 days.
Any questions or comments? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye. None opposed say no. Okay, it passes. Thank you. We're going to item 15, consideration and possible action upon a recommendation for the Board of Adjustments to reinstate Reggie Weatherton to a vacant seat on the board.
Yes, we have a vacant spot on the Board of Adjustments, and Reggie was there before he came back to council and is asked to be reinstated in that vacant place.
Make a motion for approval.
Second. All in favor say aye. None opposed. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next, item 16, consideration and possible action upon a minor plat request subdividing 307 Forest Street and combining lots for 306 Joseph Street. Yes, Wes.
Hey.
How are you?
Good evening, council. Cheryl asked me to help out on this item. This is just a minor plat application that's in your memo there. I'm going to read from that real briefly. This minor plat application is located, it was submitted by William Mansfield for a property at 307 Forest Street, which is District 5 in the council district over here off Glendale Avenue. Basically, you can read there on the background information. Basically, that lot there, that big triangle that you see all the way around is Mr. Mansfield property at 307 Forest Street. He had inherited that property from his deceased father, and the reason this came about is because I guess had owned the property for a long time in the family, and his father had a verbal agreement with the neighbor, which is Miss Thurkill right there, that actually faces 306 Joseph Street, that she could use that corner right there in the triangle to, she has like a trailer basically that's been parked there for a long time. And so now that he's inherited the property, he went and talked to his neighbor and said, either you got to move your stuff, or that we can't hold up that agreement anymore because he wants to sell the house at 307 Forest. And so Ms. Thurkill made him an offer to, pending obviously approval of council for this to take place, that she could actually purchase that triangle piece of that lot. And so when they originally drew it up in the survey, Colin Miley did the survey, first thing we noticed was that, as a standalone lot, that wouldn't meet the developmental standard by itself. And so what I talked to him about was, to do that, the best thing to do would be to attach it to Ms. Thurkill's lot and basically make it part of her backyard instead of his side yard. So that's kind of the proposal there for that little triangle portion to be part of her backyard. She already has a walk-through gate there, and back privacy fence back there that she uses to access that. There is kind of a drive, I guess, off of really an official. It's not a paved entrance off of Forest Street back there. Like I said, it's just there and it's open, and none of that is fenced in right now. And but I looked at it like, this would be the best way to go about such a transaction, would be to try to make this offer to help them be able to do this. So I don't see a reason. That's why staff recommends that we, the council approve this, unless you got any questions about it. that I've explained.
Anybody have any questions?
He was doing it to keep the peace, huh?
Just trying to help the neighbors out, and make something work. Like I said on there, she plans to put a fence up. So in my mind, it's going to look better than it does right now, and everybody will be happy. So
I'll applaud the creativity to make it work, for real.
yeah,
Okay, so I need a.
it's definitely creative. It doesn't look like but it's going to be somebody's property. So I guess it's going to be part of Joseph Avenue if you guys approve it. So.
Well, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I know this is your district, I'll go ahead and make that motion for approval.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. It's approved. I believe we are, we're not,
Yeah.
okay. Departmental reports, the city council may deliberate and make inquiry into any item listed in the department's report. Does anybody wish to do so? No? Okay. Okay.
I'd like to briefly,
Yes, oh, sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem Council, just want to briefly address the burglaries. I know that y'all probably had some questions. We've had several burglaries in the area lately. I just want y'all to know that we're on top of it. We're changing some of the ways we do things. Be glad to talk to y'all individually afterwards about that, but just know that we're all on top of it. It is a priority for both our CID and patrol.
Thank you for
Thank
putting
you.
focus on it. No doubt.
Next, we got boards and commissions. Are there any questions or concerns upon any of the board minutes submitted? No? If not, we will so move. There are no items to be discussed in the executive session. We will move on to adjournment.
I so move that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
What time?
It is, okay, we got it. And the time is 6:37.